Kia Hemi Office 5521 Saturday, day 4 September 2021. We will have kind of here a conversation quite simple, quite clear, presenting this idea as continuity. As you can observe, I'm dressing, my shorts. We will have this kind of quite simple, quite clear. It's the idea of failures at communication service, considering one very peculiar pattern named Deep Web. Deep Web is a piece of public corruption. Deep Web is very concerned in set and offer illegal services based on misusage of prerogatives inside institutions and in general very segmented as fake data and fake registry or fake clandestine stamp from public sectors in the same way. All this, of course, that goes by illegal and abusive procedure. Premise or finalism is corruption. All procedure is illegal. Take a look at the law about abuses made by authorities. I think that is 13869 2029. It's written there. And if it's illegal in a way, the procedure is illegal. We will observe that this happens. For instance, if you do a seizure of something, you can redistribute the item seized according with interest that you have, and you will support by advantage, which implies the association at your public scam criminal groups. And this is an extra problem, because indeed those criminal groups will commit crimes and have the benefit as the registry made by the public corruption and acting in an institutional way. And we have this, which is the do not have the dismissing procedure against those variables, and the protection from deep inside at this institution, so weak that they are unable to present things with transparency. This is the idea of this model as Deep Web. It's on the board. You will take a look, and you will understand quite clear what we are talking about. There are no surprise for no one. It's kind of like this. Can you have here the image? Audit. Deep Web, piece of public corruption. It's a current risk on Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. It's going at international system because we have this at the communication, and the World Wide Web is the pattern of communication that we have. If this failure allowed you to have a misusage of an investigation or something like this to collect data, Rio de Janeiro 40,000 people, Brazil more than 1 million, this decision must be under international review. And we had this. Not the international review, but the decision that must be under the international review. This is the general idea that the communication service, how the communication service goes, considering the model as structural design at this area. We have the origin of a signal, which is your digital, the access to the digital space. This origin has a provider. This provider is a company acting inside the communication service Brazil. And we will offer you and supply you with an router. And this router, as the local access to the internet, have a small unit which is the router at your house that will spread the signal as Wi-Fi. And you will have the connections inside your house as the cell phone of your father, your cell phone as an old judge having the judgment of a case, or your personal computer as a director, as a research, doing an activity for an international cluster against the criminal activity or to have the security. We are doing a white label project. And we observe that the communication law 9472 year 97, if it has failure at the company, for instance, you have the clandestine distribution to have access to the phones and cell phone communication or regular phone communication in the past. This has an evolution and a development and became the redistribution of clandestine access to the cable TV. And at present time, why not? You should consider have the clandestine access with a central or units of clandestine redistribution of regular services at communication at the Wi-Fi. And then you had the entire clandestine company set, raise it from the systematical tolerance with failures from inside, combined with public corruption that didn't act if they take advantage of the scam. And we are talking about now the transnational organized crime because goes inside the international system. Silence, Association, Blind Eye, Federal Bureau of Investigation in America. Article 13 of our criminal law confirmed by the Article 482 of the compiled law as workers at labor market and the law 8429. It's about the control of the public administration, Article 10 and 14, confirming the silence as criminal association in a illicit way inside the public administration. All those failures as a stochastic, compiled and behavior like Fibonacci pattern. 74, integrated failure, institutional democratic institution. 23 item 1, distribution of geopolitical power by the federative units. Federal, we had this problem at the central bank, and the union as itself the federative government that are unable to have transparency at the economical policy and politics that they are making. We have this at the states that got linked and associated with the counties that has independence and autonomy to set scams and do not have the transparency, being part of a very hot and public budget full of transnational organized signs since at least 2012-2021. Projected to 2028, we will consider as maybe why you do not have the transparency and which is the purpose of this illicit storage, considering things on present time like the digital payment. When you have the access of one specific log as the machine, as personal machine at your house, for instance, your cell phone, your computer, you can have this by remote access at this machine or obtain this information from the company as provider of the service that had the ID of the logs by the routers provided by this company and offered by this company. You cloned one machine here. Let's suppose this one at this house, this one at this house, this one at this house. And one cloned ID allowed you to log the router, and you can replace the router, put this cloned instrument inside the workflow as transference of signal. If I have my router, and my router has a unit as my LAN, local access to the network with a log as router at the house, and instruments logged. I will clone one instrument logged, have access to the router, and then I will try to put this cloned ID as a distribution of the signal at this area here, and I will not I will hide this signal broadcasted, and I will consider that all instruments are having the access at the house which is logged at the router. But indeed we are having two structures here, which is the cloned log replacing the router that is maybe broadcast the signal, but you are connecting at this area here, because this guy, as you can observe, will replace this situation here. This guy here is replaced by this, and all instruments, for instance here, if I had this in each one of those houses, I will have a central a unit to broadcast the clandestine signal, replacing the entire local access to the internet, and I'm collecting by this central the information of all those guys here, or even having the simulation like them, because I cloned the cell phone. Why? How can you observe this? If you must have in the very first moment the access to the router, and this access, after have this access, you can clone the cell phone or the instrument logged, you probably will, if you reset the router, you will observe that if you do not receive the signal, and only receive the signal after have a fresh start of the router, after the signal got broadcasted, regular signal, you must reset maybe your cell phone or whatever. If you reset your cell phone and limit the options as possibility to connect at the router, and in the very first moment you have everybody connect, like you put only 3, then you go sleep, wake up, and you connect only 2, and one of the others is connecting despite the owner of this cell phone is in another city or another state. The cell phone is not here, but it's logged. It's something weird. And then we will try to understand how this can be. And then we will got indeed that this can be because this cell phone logged, despite the owner is in another city, is because it's a cloned cell phone maybe. And this cloned cell phone indeed is broadcasting and replacing the entire signal of the router. And if this happen at this all area, for instance, at your entire neighborhood or a big piece of this, indeed you will replace the local access to collect data. You will replace the origination, I would say, or something like this, at the I replace and the origination as signal to provide the communication from the router, because indeed everybody is getting connected and kind of got leaded and guided to this area here, and if this is very similar to still energy, still water, or something like this, when you have your flow as energy or water or something like this, you set a pool, and this pool indeed will be used to have the redistribution. This can happen, for instance, at your financial system. When you have the money of the people and the current flow at your bank, for instance, and you take $1 of each one of the customers of your bank per day or twice a day, and you say that's a tax that the bank is having. Indeed, this is the idea of one scam named pool, financial pool. And then you will have this, which is a storage, illegal storage as consequence of a legal procedure. And this can be at the information or a digital thing, or by the current as money as itself, with a redistribution. This redistribution can be made by simulation of e-commerce, can be made by estimative account as simulation. This can be made by donations at the campaign, for instance, or crowdfunding, things like this. The other argument that we must consider, indeed, that this illegal thing combined with the digital payment plus the fake money offered at the market. And indeed we had a lot of events point to this. When they launch a new bill, let's suppose a $2,000 American bill, only the central bank has this money. This money is offered at the ghetto on New York. You probably have this problem as fake money evidence. And you do this to consider if anyone will complain this. But according with the transnational organized criminal law in Brazil, we can act controlling the action, observing you to ask this at the right time and the right questions. Just in time philosophy, Japan. So we will have this segmented according with our constitution. And you will take a look and have this question because they won't be able to answer this question. At 164 of our Constitution, it's an exclusive duty of the Federal Union and the Central Bank have the control and the management of the monetary market values and the currency as itself, considering the fake currency as control, except if they are taking advantage of this, as you can observe in Rio de Janeiro when the public corruption is in all ways, in all areas, take advantage of everything, redistributing even the illicit drug seizure or things like this. They won't be able to solve the problem. Local criminals influence local corruption. National criminals, national corruption. International jurisdiction, if this conjuncture impact the international system as financial and communication. We will have this, we are having this. We are claiming the prisons, of course, and the seizures of this illegal money. And you would like to consider a big thing, have the extended field as monetary basis, as you can observe at the blog Risk Report GSS Euro 2021 tracyaugust.blogspot.com. You have, and indeed you have, the fake money, you have the digital payment, you have the digital payment, you have the, it's written here. Take a look. It's like this. Is this confirmed? You have the digital payment, fake money, and exchange market, considering the swap at the central bank. And the second line, you have the monetary basis, considering the liquidity money and exchange liquidity money and exchange market, according with the article 164, 74, and 23, item 1 of our Constitution. Can you answer this? Integrated failure? Of course not. Not reliable state, article 174 of our Constitution. Just confirming the state is a dead structure presenting the values of variables inside. You know who will claim as institution. You know that these institutions won't be able to offer these variables from inside, especially if they are at the top level, considering the model that we could observe, which is this pattern here, the distribution of money considering the central bank, the current pattern of the transnational organized crime. This is the idea of this digital payment and fintech scams. Have a nice day. Prison and seizures, mandatory, for sure, international, against local and transnational organized crime at local. Have a nice day, and weekend, all evidences at public budget, but will change by the pattern, as you can observe, not reliable. And then you confirm this by the second level of information considering the database Sigma. Have a nice day.